And now, the main event, where tonight's entertainment is the review of entertainment. We like movies, we like television, and we like overthinking it. Introducing the podcast of critics.
All right. When the night comes tumbling down in a city that you love.
Welcome
To the podcast of critics. It's a musical episode this time around.
We're just really
Yay.
silly today.
So that's an appropriate song because today, as continuing our 90s disaster movie series, we're talking not Pompeii, another town that was destroyed by a volcano, but Dante's Peak.
Yeah.
From 1996.
97.
97. Twister
Yes.
is 96. Yep. We're kind of going sequentially in this one. Next episode, we're talking a movie from the next year, from 98, but I won't spoil that. But keeping this episode light, because this one gets dark as well.
Well,
You know?
so this one gets dark, but this one also, I couldn't take it seriously.
It's
Honestly,
very silly.
You didn't let me take it seriously.
Yeah, no, I couldn't take it. But I want to, because we're being unserious
Go ahead.
this episode, I do have a joke. I have another joke
Oh, no.
that I want to start this one off with.
I'm ready.
All right. What does a Australian volcano say when you ask him about his wife?
I have no idea.
I lava. I
That's
lava.
not funny.
I lava. I lava.
I lava.
It doesn't work unless it's an Australian volcano. So I had to-
Does Australia have
I don't
volcanoes
know.
then?
I don't know.
All right, cool.
But the volcano in the joke has an accent. I lava.
Right, yeah, of course.
Anyway, Dante's Peak.
So this one you picked, right?
I've kind of picked most of the ones for this
Yeah,
series.
you picked this whole series. This
which
was
is
not
very
a me
funny
pick.
because, again, like I was saying last episode, this is not my favorite genre. And
I don't know why you picked it.
to capitalize on Twister's
That's
coming out.
it. That's it.
That's all. But yeah, so I picked this one because mainly I just like the title.
Yeah.
Dante's Peak. It's a volcano movie. Volcanoes are cool, I guess. But yeah, this one encapsulates kind of all of my feelings about why I don't love disaster movies.
And this also helps me to understand that because, like
Yeah.
I said in the last one, I really like the man versus nature struggle just because that is so insensitive to, like, it's not
Non-discriminate.
Like it's
Indiscriminate.
Not,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not choosy. And I like that because that's, it's actually very scary as far as natural disasters go. This one, though, it was just so dumb.
Well, it's like we talked about last time, that can work really well.
Right.
If you have a good human element to ground it and to like invest in. Like Twister worked for us because we love those characters so much. Stuff like Titanic works.
Yeah.
Because it spends
absolutely.
time to like build up the relationships and stuff, and so you care. You know, it'd be one thing if it was just a bunch of faceless nobodies dying, but because it's Jack and Rose, you give more of a shit.
Right.
And this
Of
one,
course.
it tries to do that, but it feels there's more forcedness to it, and we'll get into it. But yeah, but this one just does not have the same meat on the bones that make it a good movie meal.
Honestly, from the opening, not the opening sequence, because that one seemed pretty. It was too dark to be able to tell, other than that there was this like deluge coming down.
Mm-hmm. Good word, deluge.
But when we open to Dante's Peak, the town, it's too edited, if that makes sense. Like whereas with Twister, even if I didn't know that all of those things were real, it was still really well done.
Sure.
To where I was like, all right, cool.
Well, part of it is the town. It's like the movie's called Dante's Peak. And to me, the idea is that you should fall in love with the town that gets destroyed almost. You know what I mean? Like it's just in the way you fall in love with the ship Titanic, which I don't know. That's kind of maybe just in my head the crown jewel of disaster movies. I think
just being in love with the characters or the
characters, the town, the setting. Because like, well, the Titanic, it's the loss of the people, but it's also the loss of this great behemoth of a ship and stuff. And it's like, oh, what a thing. And so you'd think like the town would also have more of a character to it in this.
Yeah, it could have been more small town-esque and more like lovable small town-esque.
Exactly.
It could have been a Mayberry. It could have been a Stars Hollow. It could have been,
a Twin Peaks, if you're familiar with Twin Peaks, which I know you're still not. But.
No, I'm not. But yeah, it could have been any real small town where you like you look at it and you're like, oh, I want to be a part of One Tree Hill.
Yeah,
like I want to live there. Like I want to at least visit it sometime.
It doesn't have that. It doesn't. The town does not have a character of its own that you mourn when it gets blown up. And
Which
stuff.
is kind of nuts considering that. Like I mean, it had the perfect setup to be that way.
Well, you see them going for it. You see them going for it.
But they didn't commit.
No, it's all of the emotional stakes in this are so half-baked, but that isn't to discount the technical side of this, which I still think is actually pretty good. So that's why...
Yeah, for the CGI being as old as it is, it's pretty okay.
It's a lot of good practical effects and stuff, and we'll get into them. But yeah, this one is like, it's exactly what I mean with disaster movies, where like, wow, they really cared a lot about making this shit look real and the impact of the disaster and stuff. They cared so much less about everything else.
Yeah.
And that's just so obvious. And I feel like that's such a staple of this genre. So that's why it just doesn't do it for me. So I'm excited to get into this one because as it's called the podcast of critics. Time to get critical.
All right. So getting into it, we've got Pierce Brosnan as our main character. Dr.
Harry Dalton.
Excuse me. It's Doctor. He,
Put some respect on.
He's got a PhD. Can't save lives, though. Although he did try. He does succeed. Not fully, though. He's got like an 80% success rate. We've got Linda Hamilton as our main girl, as our love interest, as our mayor of the town, which I think was pretty forward for the time.
For the 90s?
Yeah.
Sure.
Not necessarily for the 90s in itself, but like just having, like showcasing that there is a woman mayor on screen.
But to her point, she doesn't do a whole lot of mayoring.
No, she gets overrun by the rest of the town council or city council, but that's, it is what it is. Director Roger Donaldson, I don't know him from any, according to the IMDb, he's also known for The November Man.
Which is, I think that's the most recent thing
that
he did, also with Pierce Brosnan. That's kind of interesting, because they probably have a good relationship from this movie, we imagine.
I mean, this seems like a fun one to make. This seems like a fun...
Everyone seemed to have a good time.
Yeah. Writer Leslie Baum, who I was misled at first. He's also known for Taken in 2002, but it's not the Liam Neeson movie.
Oh, a different Taken.
It's the TV series, 2002 TV series. He was the writer for that. He's also the writer for The Darkest Hour in 2011. So, all in all, the only person who's semi-familiar to me in this is Pierce Brosnan.
Yeah, well, tell us why you like Pierce Brosnan.
I'm sorry, and also Linda Hamilton.
Yeah, well, let's talk. You love Pierce Brosnan because...
Stop outing me.
It's one of your favorite movies.
It's a comfort movie. I really love Mamma Mia. I do. I actually really love ABBA. I love that whole like shtick. I very often want to run away and live in Greece. So if for some reason I drop off the planet, that's where I left and went to. So he's a horrible singer.
He's great. It's a big running joke just between us of just like, oh, we love Pierce Brosnan's
Well, for the
voice.
record, my sister had a beach birthday party that you showed up to.
Yeah, dressed as Pierce Brosnan.
Dressed as Pierce Brosnan from Mamma Mia because it had recently come out.
The second one had come out or something.
Yeah, and you knew that we all loved ABBA. And so he came to my sister's birthday party dressed as Pierce Brosnan in Mamma Mia with the white pants and the dark shirt and the very broody, contemplative look. It was a grand old time.
This is great.
And now he'll just randomly sing SOS.
So when you're near me, darling, don't you hear me? SOS.
These aren't even the
I can't remember. It's been a minute.
But anyways,
I like him because he's James Bond. I'm normal.
I have like seen bits and pieces, but I don't think I've ever actually committed to seeing one beginning to end.
He had the last like fun Bond movies. It was back when like you could still have gadgets and like he'd sleep with
Daniel Craig is not a fun Bond.
Daniel Craig is the broody Bond. His are very dark, realistic. He lives in this post 9/11 espionage world.
Skyfall had some fun gadgets.
They go back to it every now and then, but it's never. But he's always like, "Do you like my gadget? Cool, moving on."
Oh,
like,
I see. It's not a shtick.
But you see, but even he's tired of it because now he's doing fun shit like Knives Out. Yeah,
and Glass Onion.
Yeah, but Pierce had the last like fun ones with the gadgets and the hot girls and the cars and everything else. So I like him from those.
He's just so smooth, man.
Yeah, well,
and that's kind of this.
He's
the
too
pretty
smooth
privilege
for this
is
movie.
hard in this one.
Yeah.
Like the pretty privilege goes hard.
Because he's supposed to, in this movie he's supposed to be playing kind of like a dorky, haunted volcano geologist scientist, and he's kind of too cool for it.
Right, and if you've
That's how
been
it feels.
traveling along with us on this whole journey, thank you for being here. Once again, thank you for listening.
Mm-hmm.
But also, if you have been with us this entire time, you know that Brad Pitt played a very kitschy, but also semi-realistic scientist,
like earthquake
seismographer
scientist, yeah, someone or other, yeah.
in oceans.
Yeah, he was pretending to be
Yeah.
he was in disguise as a earthquake scientist or whatever.
In
and
Ocean's 13, which is how we sneak the camera into Banks's office. All that to
Go
say,
to episode 3. Yeah.
Go to episode 3. But also that whole getup basically is these like ridiculous. He looks like he smells. Like you see this guy.
It's the supporting
and you
cast.
know that he smells like BO. He's got this long hair, like
The supporting
long
cast
beard.
in this movie, like all of the crew that go with him to Dante's
they all
Peak,
smell.
They
definitely all smell.
Well, they all look like nerds and dorks and like real scientists. And Piers is over
they
here.
just look like they don't wear deodorant.
They're not anime convention goers. They're just scientists.
No,
All
at
right.
least 2 of them are. At least 2 of them are.
If they had them back then, maybe.
Statistically, they definitely did. One Piece has been going for forever,
Sure.
as is Naruto.
But Pierce is like, has just never not been a good-looking dude and just like a smooth
He's always
British
had the
operator.
smolder, the effortless.
He's
smolder,
James
too.
Bond. It's like,
Yeah.
like how do you expect James Bond to like not be like a nerdy character? You know what I mean? Like it just doesn't track. So he's a little, I don't know if he's necessarily miscast in this, but the script does not always line up with his performance, we'll say.
He's far too suave to be playing this character.
Now, Linda Hamilton, who we love from the Terminator series, who she, along with Sigourney Weaver in the Alien series, are like 2 of like the iconic like badass women of sci-fi history. You know what I mean? Like they defined the like late 80s, 90s.
They paved the way for folks like Charlize Theron and maybe even Nicole Kidman to
just any like badass lady movie you've seen of like the past 20 years or whatever.
Scarlett for sure.
Like they were like the foundation for that to me. So
Her
and she's,
hair, a good haircut always gets me.
yeah, she's. I mean, but she too is kind of like wasted in this one to me because she's just this ineffectual mayor who doesn't get a whole lot to do. Like Linda Hamilton is so much more badass than the character she's given here, which isn't to say that like, oh, everybody in the movie has to be a badass.
No, but like there is.
But she's capable of
There's
it,
a
and you don't
script
let her
that
do
exists, or there's a version of the script that exists where Linda Hamilton is far more.
Plays a more active role
yeah,
and stuff. Yeah. She's just kind of the love interest in this, and just kind of like the damsel, which is feels especially weird. I think after coming off of Twister, where every character in that, even like the villain, like Carrie Elwes in that, is like a scientist.
Well, and everybody's like,
active.
but they're all like intensely going after the same things. Like she could have intensely been trying to save her town. You know what I mean? Like even as mayor, she could have. There's so much more there that could have been played, and that's just not what we had here.
Yeah, no. So,
all right, but getting into it, we opened to the title sequence of just like all of the. So I wrote down because I did not pre-watch this. You did. I wrote down all the 12 plagues from
from Egypt.
from Egypt are outside. Like that's how it felt. There's stuff falling from the sky, and at first I didn't quite catch that it was ash. It just looked like sludge, and I was like, "Oh gosh, like what is falling from the sky?"
It's a good.
I
cold
should have
open.
known. I mean, it's in the freaking title, but
Yeah.
it's so darkly lit, and I don't think this was intentional. I think this was just sort of the time period. It's very dark.
I feel like it was intentional. I think it did I liked the cold open at least of it because it was this ashy like veil kind of over the whole scene. That was pretty good. And I liked like the tint of red and stuff. For an opening, it's good. Same thing like with Twister, where like we're gonna start with a tornado out the gate. We're just gonna get that out of the way.
Yeah.
So this one is good in the sense that it like okay, like we're just starting in the middle of an eruption. So that works for me.
Yeah, and then we've got Pierce cut to several cuts to Pierce in a truck or car. It seems like a truck. Trying to just drive through the mayhem and the insanity that is going on outside. He picks up Marianne.
Marianne.
He pronounces it Marianne, but I don't know.
Marianne.
Yeah, that. So, TLDR, she dies.
Yeah, so they have a crew down there, but they like leave too late or whatever, and like a boulder or whatever it is hits the car.
Yeah.
And it like stabs her like through the roof of the car.
Through the head.
And this is bloody, and he's like, and to Pierce's credit, he's doing a good performance here.
Yeah, no, he's like
breaking
holding
down.
her and like crying and like going through it. I mean, because he thought she was safe, I think, because he was in the truck and he was trying to like drive through it and like trying to get her out of there, and he thought he had enough time, and he didn't.
No. So 4 years later.
So
it's a good cold open. I like this.
Yeah.
Like this is good. It sets a good like basis for his little trauma and what he is like supposedly going to overcome.
Yeah.
It establishes him as kind of a badass that he can get out of this situation, whatever, but so and so. 4 years later, he's doing push-ups in his room.
He's doing insane push-ups. I mentioned this to you while we were watching it. These are not
intense.
like the kind where you're like focusing on like each muscle that you're working as you go. Like these are the kind that you're like just going off of momentum and you're like probably gonna pass out. You know, if you like stop too fast or if you don't like properly hydrate afterwards. I don't know. He was going a little hard.
He's James Bond. He knows what he's doing.
Meanwhile, his voicemail is going off.
Yeah, his boss.
Voicemail?
Yeah, I think
answering machine.
Answering machine. This
That's
is the 90s.
the word.
We're in the 90s. Yep.
With Paul. This is Paul. Paul.
Yeah, get used to Paul. Paul's a character.
Paul's a vibe. Paul's calling. Harry, I know you're there. You know.
Yeah, there's a problem in the northern Cascade Mountains, which I guess I do want to talk about this briefly, is that I've been up to Mount St. Helens before.
Oh, cool.
Up in Washington.
Yeah.
When I was little, I had family that used to live in Seattle in that area, and so I went up to visit them one summer or something. Mm-hmm. Very cool.
Oh.
Very cool sights up there. You see like the crater of the mountain and stuff. They have like a gift shop that has like little stones and stuff made of ash from
cool.
the volcano.
Yep.
So I love the vibe of like
Isn't that just igneous rock?
I'd probably. I don't. Well, it's not igneous. It's like I'll have to show you. But I have a cool little stone with a carving of a fox in it. It's like made out of ash. It's very cool. So I love.
All right.
So this, in that sense, I like this. I like that I got to kind of revisit my little childhood summer, seeing the Pacific Mountains and everything like that.
Very cool.
Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of little Mount St. Helens lore that inspires a good bit of this movie that we'll get into as we go along.
The best I know of Seattle is Grey's Anatomy.
Is that? Oh, that's where it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
No volcanoes go off, I guess.
No,
There's got to be a volcano episode.
No, there's been like earthquake episodes kind of ish. There's been like these really horrible like storms, like thunderstorms. But
Sure. Maybe that's how it ends.
electric storms, but
Maybe that's how it'll end.
oh, don't give Shonda ideas. Please don't give Shonda ideas. So anyways,
So he's on vacation is the thing, is that he's called in while on vacation.
he's probably just on leave. I don't think he was like on vacation.
They say he's on vacation because he comes into the office and his crew is there and they're like, vacation won't kill you. What are you doing here? Go home.
Oh yeah.
Which is kind of weird. So it's kind of implied that he's like a workaholic, that he's
He absolutely is. He's very
Yeah.
intense.
he buries himself in this work to like escape his.
Yeah, because his fiance died in his arms right next to him. And like there was nothing he could do about it.
Happens to all of us.
Huh?
Every once in a while.
It happens to the best of us. How about that? That's a little better.
He truly is the best of us. And that's why they send him to, to Dante's
He's the
Peak.
expert.
Yeah. So Paul, they're getting these readings out of the town of Dante's Peak.
For seismic activity?
Yeah. And so he's like, I want you to go down there and check it out. And so he's like, yeah, all right. They're pretty confident that it's nothing. But it kind of seems like a pity task they give him almost.
Well, I think it's probably just sort of like a, hey, go find yourself.
Yeah, it feels like go keep yourself busy. I know you need something to occupy your mind. Go have a little trip down to the mountains, get some readings, come home, feel useful.
And then due diligence still, but without expending too much effort on the company's part.
Obviously, that goes haywire here shortly.
Right.
So he gets down to Dante's Peak, where we get kind of their attempt to make the town charming.
Which, by the way, he works for the United States Geological Survey.
Yeah. So we're in Dante's Peak, the town now, where there's a big celebration going on.
This ridiculous parade.
Yeah. It's like the Pioneer Festival, but also the town is being awarded a Money Magazine award for being the second best town with a population under 20,000.
It's
Is
the
that right?
second most desirable place to live
Yes.
in the United States with a population of under 20,000 people.
So this is funny. This is like...
They're like, who did you lose out to? Somebody in Montana, probably.
Yeah.
It's probably Yellowstone.
Probably is accurate. Yeah. Montana has nobody. But you see what
just Kevin Costner.
Not anymore.
True.
But you see what they're going for with the town has this quirky little celebration and it's like they're so proud of their little insular culture and whatever.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
They don't build on this at all. So I hate this. I hate that they're in a like you're saying, if it's going to be a small town thing, we should really get to know the local diner. Yeah. We should really get to know some of the...
Well, and technically we definitely should because she lives in it.
Yeah, or there should be 5 or so kind of quirky little characters who we spend time with, and you're like, oh, that's the farmer or whatever.
Oh yeah,
the pharmacist, whatever.
The vegetable man, the pharmacist. You've got your Otis, your Gomer.
Yeah. Just add some flavor to this town, so we kind of fall in love with it a little bit before we wipe it off the map. And they don't. You see them trying to do it with
this. There should be a Barney Fife.
Yeah, and they kind of, you see them try. And
they try.
And it does not work because they just kind of give up. And they're like, all right, you get it. It's a tiny little town. It's like, no, I don't get it yet. Do more. Give me more. Give me more, what is this town about? It's it's about being proud of being small. All right.
Cool.
Whatever.
So we've got the parade going on outside, and Pierce is driving in on his shiny new truck.
Yeah, he's got a cool truck, too. I like his little red truck. His little red Jeep. It's a good little...
Is it a Jeep?
It's something. This would make a great Hot Wheels car. I can see myself loving this as a Hot Wheels.
Oh, the lights on it alone. Ridiculous.
Yeah. We meet Linda Hamilton.
Yes, she is playing Rachel Wando, who is the mayor. She lives above the deli. She also apparently runs the deli. She's yelling to Lauren about who she's supposed to be talking. Is this Carrie or
Karen? Who's giving her the award? Yeah.
And Lauren's like, this Karen. Now, when we cut to Lauren,
being her daughter,
you expect the way that she's talking to Lauren.
Oh, you expect it to be a secretary or something?
I expected it to be a full assistant or a friend or an adult. I expected it to be an adult, and it is this miniature child,
the littlest girl,
the smallest of the small children. And she's the sweetest thing, but she's got her shit together clearly. This child runs this house.
They're doing the thing that I think the 90s did a lot with child characters, where they make them really mature
and really competent, and then they expected us as children, as they grew us to make to be as competent, and now we're all burnt out.
Yeah.
That's my thing for the day.
Interesting. Good take.
So anyway, she's asking Lauren, where's Graham? I don't know. Which, love this about this kid, because as smart as she is, she knows exactly where the fuck Graham is. She could have been a little snitch, and she was not. I do appreciate this about Lauren.
It's a good little. You get the the vibe of the family. Like Rachel is established as a good single mom character.
Yes.
Here, you know what I mean.
And Lauren helps with keeping mom on track while mom does like 20,000.
So they do have to be a little more mature than you kind of expect them to be. So
right.
it tracks. They make it to the festival finally. They're a little bit late, and she gets the award from the Money magazine lady, Karen,
whose name is actually Karen, and Lauren promptly reminds her as soon as she's on stage as well in front of the whole town.
It's Karen.
Yes.
Thank you, Karen. Thank you, Lauren. So it's funny. Like there's some humor here. You know, they're
Pierce is in the crowd, looking suave as usual in his little Ray-Bans.
Yeah, right. He's too cool. He's too cool for this movie, man.
Yeah.
She accepts
pretty privileged Pierce, you know.
Yeah, she accepts the award, and she also mentions that like they're getting. This is kind of like the secondary themey thing they're also trying to do that they don't play into quite enough. I don't think is they have an economical investment in the town from Blair Industries that they're very excited about.
Yeah, there's two dudes representing Blair Industries.
I think one of them is like a guy on the council whose name is Les. And then another guy who's just, I think, Mr. Blair. I can't remember, Steve Blair or something, whatever. So that's...
minor characters that we never talk about ever again, really. We do see shots of them, but that's it.
They come up here and there to, like, there's kind of this, you know, again, like we kind of talked about last with Twister and, like, Jonas's character and how he's, like, a corporate scientist. Uh-huh. So there's that same kind of through line that was, I think, also popular in the 90s, where it was like, we hate companies. We
hate monopolies, and we should have hated them more.
Yeah, no, for all the themes we get about these in movies, like, we've not learned fucking shit. But but it's like, oh, the big company's coming to take over the small town, but it's good because there'll be jobs. Like, that's kind of...
that was the party line, I guess.
Yeah, well, that's what they're going for here, and like and the company, there's a whole like anti-capitalist kind of spin to some of this, which is good, but it too feels very forced. And like,
it's just...
what are you trying to say here? Are you trying to just say it to say it?
Well, it's forced but undercooked.
Yeah. If you cooked it more, it'd be fine. But it's not like the company has caused the volcano, has like disturbed the volcano. Like that would be something.
Right.
That would be a message. Mm-hmm. There's no message to it. It's just a thing.
No. Yeah.
Whatever.
It's just like a quick byline.
There's kind of a message in the sense that it does influence the scientists' decisions that we'll get to, but it's still undercooked, like you're saying.
So
we cut in between here, though, to a little bit of a horror movie-esque scene of two teens in the woods.
Oh, yeah. In between here, we've got these two, well, it might be just young adults. Young couple, skinny dipping in the hot springs that are up on the mountain. She gets in, and he's already in, and she gets in, and she says, hey, it's really hot. You know, like, this is really, really hot. He's like, well, that's the, you know, it's a hot
idea.
spring. And then we leave them, and we come back down. Harry and Rachel meeting each other. Basically, he just hops in her car with Lauren, and then
this is like, weird too. This is weird.
Why are you okay with hopping in this woman's car?
Well, not only that, why is she okay with, like, she's the mayor? Doesn't she have like some other guy like, oh yeah, I'll get Bill to take you up the mountain?
Well, she's
like, why does she have to be the one to go and like escort him on his little survey here?
Because she has family up the mountain. Maybe,
but everybody probably has some family up the mountain. Surely her.
We didn't see them.
Who knows? But it's strange that like she doesn't deputize this to it. This is also just like plot being like these two have to go together because the plot says so.
Right.
Like surely I know it's a tiny town and she also like works a job at the deli in addition to being mayor. Surely she has staff that could be like, oh, you're the U.S. especially on the day of the festival. Like,
but it's a small town.
Whatever.
She doesn't even have an assistant.
I guess you're right. Yeah, her daughter is her assistant.
So they hop in the car before they go up the mountain. She has to go get her son, Graham, who is playing in the mines, which was too deliberate of a shot, in my opinion, which is why I looked over at you and I was like, well, that'll be used later.
Yep, it's good. I think that's good.
No,
that's good.
It was good leading.
They plant the seeds, you know, right.
Yeah, and they made sure you didn't miss it.
There's some good setup in here. Like, they pay attention to it.
So they run up
can I tell you actually who I thought played Graham for a second?
Who? Joseph Gordon-Levitt?
Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
He looks like him.
He does.
Looks like
yeah.
him. There was something else that Joseph Gordon-Levitt was in the other day that I looked at, and I was
Little Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
no, it's old Joseph Gordon-Levitt. He was like a cop or something, and I was like, that's not him.
Was it The Dark Knight Rises?
No, it was.
He's a cop in that.
Fuck, it was something. It was something recent, and we were watching it, and I was like, no, that's not him.
I got really excited thinking this was him. I was like, oh, cool, he did this. Like, no, it's not.
No, it's
That's
not.
just how every kid looked back then.
They all just had these like squinty eyes and brown hair.
In the floppy 90s hair, yeah.
Yeah. Well, around.
How do you feel, I guess, now that we've met both the kids, how do you feel about them as characters, as kid actors?
Like I said, I liked her. She was good. Like, she, as a character, she was good because she could have been a snotty little goody two shoes. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of their solidarity was born out of the fact that they are single mom's kids. You know, because there is that weird like trauma bond that comes with having a single parent, where as siblings you just know that it's just you, just like the two, just y'all against whatever. You just have to be friends. Like, you don't really have a choice there.
I could have done with more of an arc with them and the mom. Like, because there is kind of
more of a dynamic than
just,
a lot of this is inferred from experience. This is not.
It's not in the script. It's not in the text.
It's not at all in the text.
Because like sort of the core, as we learn here, as we go up the mountain and meet Grandma, kind of like Rachel's backstory is that she is a single mom because the husband kind of just abandoned the whole family. So I think it would be kind of more. It would just give some kind of dynamic other than like, oh, I love my mom, and that's kind of all there is to it. If maybe they blamed her for him leaving, and that's why they kind of side with Grant. I don't know, some drama. Add some drama to the relationship there, just to give something. Again, it's like the reason
they are a little too good as kids. Like Grant, yeah, of course,
exactly.
He's like clearly like hiding out in the mines or whatever.
But why is he hiding out? It would be interesting if he was like avoiding mom because he's mad at her. But like that never plays into it. Like that never comes up. Oh yeah, that would have been a good. You know, because again, like if you're gonna do a disaster movie, the human stuff needs to be meaty and dramatic.
Solid.
And it's not there in this one.
No, it's not.
It's just like, oh, the family gets along. Even like they kind of play.
And they are just like this idyllic getting along family.
Yeah,
too.
they fight a little bit, the kids, but like they don't seem to like resent each other or anything. It's not like dude sides with dad and the girl sides with mom or anything. There's no tension.
Well, there's also no like crazy like slamming doors type situation where like, and specifically
if he was aged
Grant,
up, if he was more of a teenager and not like a 10-year-old even.
Maybe, but even still, like, Graham is of the age where he could be slamming doors.
Or you could do a thing even if he was a little older where he's like, I don't want to live in Dante's Peak. I want to go to a big city, a real city, you know?
Something. Give this kid a struggle.
Yeah, give it to where like, oh, now that the town's being destroyed, I care about it. I don't know, some kind of arc with them. And they just don't have that.
Yeah, it's missing depth. I obviously impose depth on my own.
I see what you mean. Where like the
experience though is universal to those who have the single parent thing where you're like, there is like a point, especially when it's fresh, where you're like, there's a parent who left. Mm-hmm. God, I didn't mean to talk about my childhood trauma today.
I never do.
Here we are. But there is a point, especially early on, where you're like, oh, anything could go wrong at any point. I really just need to like hang with the homies, which is your siblings, where it's like, I just have these folks that are here and they chose to stay. They have the
self-reliance done well, but that's kind of it.
But that is that, and I'm inferring all of that from the self-reliance alone. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that I shouldn't have to do.
Right. So they get up the mountain, we meet Grandma Ruth, who also kind of sucks, as we'll find out.
She's like, well, when they are going up the mountain,
Rachel, I think, talks a little bit about her stuff.
She's like, well, she says,
or the kids are like,
can we go to Grandma's? And Rachel's like, well, we have to get Dr. Dalton up the mountain. And he's like, well, I don't mind, stopping to drop the kids off at your mother's. Mm-hmm. And this is very subtle, but it works. He says it's at your mother's, and she goes, oh, she's not my mother. She's my mother-in-law. She's my ex-mother-in-law. Yeah. In which case, like, you immediately know there's tension there. Like, if that were a kosher relationship, or that were like a relationship where we're Gucci, mm-hmm. I'm not bringing up that she's my ex mother-in-law. I'm just being like, yeah, the kid's grandma is great. Yeah, that's what you would have said. Yeah.
And they do a good job of that, like carrying that resentment.
Yeah, and
acting-wise.
in their greeting, because Ruffy comes out, the dog.
We get the dog Ruffy.
Which, by the way,
Yeah.
I was so traumatized by Toby from the last one that while we were watching, I looked up the Does the Dog Die website. This is like, I have to know if Ruffy dies right now, because Ruffy was very cute.
He was a cute dog. Yeah, he looks. He's
mangy.
He was half wolf or something. Is what the
Yeah, he's a wolf hybrid.
is what our trivia was telling us. That's cool.
So to put our listeners at ease, he does not die.
No, he's fine.
Because I needed that.
He gets an epic moment at
immediately.
the end. We'll get to it. But we meet Ruth, who lives on the mountain. So she's vaguely based on a real guy.
Yes.
Who also lived.
Harry R. Truman, not Harry S. Truman.
Right, who lived along the side of Mount St. Helens and also was like warned off of it. And he was like, I'm not leaving.
Right.
And he, of course, died. So she's kind of based on that, where she's just an old, stubborn mountain woman.
Yeah.
Has lived here forever. She kind of seems to carry equal resentment towards Rachel for driving the husband off, her son off, or whatever. And I like this a little bit because she is like, who's this guy? And Harry is like,
So who's your boyfriend?
Yeah, he's like, I'm just here to do a geological survey, just checking up on your mountain. And she has a thing she says here that's very horror movie to me, where she's like, nothing happened then, nothing's gonna happen now.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm like, that's spooky.
Yeah.
She's spooky. And so I like this kind of first act of it because it is very horror movie. As we get here, where he starts testing stuff, he tests the water for acid, and it's a little acidic.
Well,
he sees the dead trees.
As we're at Grandma's, he looks and he sees the dead trees, and then as we go up the mountain to the hot springs, the kids find dead squirrels, a couple of dead squirrels with maggots already on them, so they died a while back.
Yeah,
it's not very fresh.
It's yuck.
As Graham, this is very dramatic to me too. This was a little horror movie-esque too.
It's very,
because the hot springs, the kids are like immediately gonna go swimming. Ruth's gonna go swimming with them. The hot springs are covered in like a fog, a steam, which would be normal for a hot spring, right? And so the Graham, the son, is about to sprint into and just basically do what boys do and cannonball into the spring.
Yeah.
And just as he's taking off, Pierce very dramatically catches him and stops him from jumping in, and then kind of just a second too late turns his head away from seeing
the bodies
of these two people that we had originally seen in the first bit of these, like this young couple that had been just skinny dipping, which the kids did point out their clothes on the sign.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, oh, people are here.
Right, yeah. But they're not there. They're dead.
They're dead. And they are face up, burned to smithereens.
Mm-hmm.
They look grotesque.
So I like this, though. I like the first act build up that leads to that. I think that's really good and ominous and spooky, and it has a horror movie vibe to me. So I like that. Now, it doesn't maintain that energy very well, but well...
It's this wanted to be a horror in a different world or in a different script. This is a horror movie.
Yeah,
and it fully commits.
Yeah, it starts to sag here in the middle as we get. So Harry calls up Paul and he's like, "Hey, animals are dying, trees are dying, hot springs are bubbling. I think attention should be paid." Right. I love how he said that. That is such an unnatural sentence. You sent me up here to check. I think attention should be paid.
Which, to me, kind of shows that he's self-aware that he was sent away because they wanted him to feel useful.
Yeah, and now he's feeling very useful.
And he's like, oh, actually, this was a real assignment.
Yeah.
This is a real thing. He has Rachel call city council
He kind of hits the panic button here. Yeah, calls the council together. No,
he hits it kind of hard, too.
I love this scene. I love the council meeting. Because I talked about the movie is actually shot very well because it does this great thing with these Dutch angles. Everything is like tilted and uneasy, and it's like zooming.
It does the suspense well.
It's these oneers around the room. It's this one shot of like it pans out from like one of the sheriff or whatever, and it goes back to Pierce, and it rotates around the room, and it's like all these great close-ups. So like the tension is really good because everyone's pissed off. Everyone's like, "What do you mean we got to panic?" And of course, the one guy.
This thing has never erupted in how many ever years?
Yeah, the one guy who's like in bed with the corporate company or whatever is like, "This is we're gonna lose our funding for our big jobs project. We're about to, whatever."
Rachel, you're just a hysterical woman.
Yeah, and so it's but so I like how it's shot. again, like at this point, the movie's actually almost good.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
because we're building up to like something that like is, but
And this
because again, it's like the camera work is really good, the acting is
No,
really
because
good,
this
the effects
gives
are
it-
really good.
this does give it its due in the sense of like they try.
Yeah, no, everyone on like the production side of it is trying. It's just the writing is not there in the performance side of it. It's just it is purely the plot is kind of the one that's going to lose points out towards the end of this one.
Oh yeah.
So the crew shows up here, Paul and the rest of the crew, who the crew compared to the crew from Twister. I'm comparing things to the last one because I'm finding that's what happens in this show.
Yeah, we just compare it to the last thing that we did.
Yeah, you know, we just got goldfish memory. But this crew not nearly as charming as like Philip Seymour Hoffman and Rabbit.
Absolutely
and
not.
all
Well,
those
because you don't
guys.
have Alan Ruck, you don't have Philip Seymour Hoffman, you don't have any of those guys that are like, and certainly not like a band of brothers. These are folks that, and even you have your token woman in here,
Yeah,
and your token brown guy,
token Asian.
and then your token Asian, like
Yeah, it's a multi-ethnic team. You assume so too. Pierce must be the token Brit
right.
for the U.S. Geological Survey.
Yeah, I guess. But the Asian guy specifically, he was with Pierce he mentioned Pierce when he came in from vacation, and he was kind of ragging on him a little bit. So they have a little bit of a thing.
You see what they're going for, where it's like, oh, it's a
But
group
it's
of like
still
pals,
half-baked.
yeah, that
It's
rag
still
on each other.
half-baked.
They don't have as much like quirks to them that are fun. I don't know. Yeah, it feels so
Whereas
forced.
your Twister team they were definitely gung ho. They were all together. They had steak and eggs regularly. You know what I mean?
I think a lot of that too came because like when we meet them, the perspective was from Melissa, who is an outsider.
Yeah.
And I think that did a good job of being like, you walk into a friend group that's not your friend group.
Yeah.
And you you don't need to necessarily know all those people.
Right.
But you can tell like, oh, they have so much history and vibe to them that like, I don't necessarily need to know anything about them, but I can just see it. This one is kind of different. Like they don't seem like a friend group.
These are not pals that get to work together, which to their credit,
Again, they're trying.
Yeah.
They are trying, and it's just not enough.
it just doesn't land.
No.
But you have these folks who allegedly work well together, allegedly have worked on many things together. Do I believe that? Not at all.
Yeah, everyone in this movie is an idiot for the plot. It's like all these scientists, it's like surely one of these, as we get into it, would like side with Harry here.
Well, we even called NASA idiots too in this.
Oh, yeah, they don't like their...
So, this does not... Whereas Twister was competency out the wazoo.
You had like some disagreements here and there between people,
But it was competent disagreements.
and it was respectful.
Yeah,
you could
because
tell
it was,
you at least.
it was
yeah.
like this, the data is telling me this, but the wind is telling me this. That's what Twister's main fight was about.
And same
right?
thing here, where it's kind of like Pierce's vibes versus the data.
Except we don't respect Pierce.
Yeah.
We think he's crazy.
Right, which is supposed to, as the audience, make you root for Pierce. It kind of makes you root against the gang more than you
Want to.
you're like, I don't want to dislike these characters, but so we get to Paul here, who this is kind of the epitome of it. Is Paul is he comes in and kind of realizes that like the council is in a panic, and that Harry has set them into a panic, and he kind of pulls him aside and he's like, hey, I told you to just like come in and check on shit. Now you got people ready to torch the town. What are you talking about?
Yeah, to evacuate and things like that.
Yeah, like,
And
this is crazy.
This is not an evacuation.
So he kind of calms the
type
council
situation.
down, and he tells the story of like another town that they did put on alert, and who pretty much went out of business because of it, because like all of the companies kind of fled and were like, oh, we don't want to invest in this place. And he's like, I don't want to see that happen to you guys. So we're going to be here. We're going to take a look, but nobody needs to panic yet. He's wrong.
Well, of course he's wrong. I mean, that's the whole shtick.
Yeah, and he tells Harry to leave. He's like, you're still on vacation. Get out of here. Harry doesn't leave. He's posted up at the bar. He and Paul kind of reconcile here, and he's like, you can stay. I'm in charge. So they're good.
And I mean, Paul even says in this makeup too that he's pandering to the politics. He's, I think he said there's politics at play here that you don't understand.
Yeah, which is true. Like you can see the drama.
That's fair. I guess.
Yeah, I don't know. Like you maybe it induces the right frustration in you as an audience where you're like, man, like I wish these guys would just listen to Pierce Brosnan. He seems to know what he's talking about. So it does make you do that, but it makes you more frustrated that things just go wrong. I don't know. I don't know. It's a thing. It's like, oh, like why do I not like it in this, but I do like it in Titanic?
Yeah.
You know, I can't explain it, but I don't know. Maybe it's just the deliveries or something. But anyway.
But so basically, Paul, in that parlay, Harry gets Paul to say that they'll stay for a couple days to just give it the full examination that it's due. And I think this is where we can probably call halfway.
Yeah, because from here, they just kind of get into the investigation and stuff until finally the movie starts.
Yeah, we're still in setup.
Yeah, this movie, honestly...
This Dante's Peak has no peak.
It has a peak. It's the dog. We'll get to the dog scene.
That's true. That if you're watching for the dog, cool. And if you're watching to laugh at everybody else while you wait for the dog to have his I'm sorry, it's a her. Ruffy is a her. Mm-hmm. Have her triumphant moment, sure.
Yeah, so we'll be back in a moment to take a peek at the rest of the movie.
Hate it.
More like Dante's mid. That's what you were saying.
It's aggressively mid.
It's aggressively average, yeah. A Nickelback. That's how I think of Nickelback. I don't think they're bad. Everyone says Nickelback is bad. I think they're just aggressively average.
I need you to take that back right now.
Do you like Nickelback?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
No, because, all right, so the TikTok, like, we're going on a tangent. We're going on a trip.
Quickly.
Basically, when TikTok made like Nickelback come back,
okay,
which was the I think it's Animals, but it's basically like the bridge to Animals, where it's like we were parked up by the track, and like
sure,
this dude is getting on with this girl in the truck.
Okay, that's the conceit of the song.
Yes, and dad comes out with a shotgun, and so like women loving women. TikTok.
Oh, they ran with it.
Okay. It was great. But it was very validating for me because I loved screaming. Like, I had the CD. Mm-hmm. I still have a CD in my car that I found the other day at a thrift store. And I blared it. It was just like, it was definitely divorced dad
rock. Yeah, right.
Divorced dad rock.
Yeah.
It fits in that genre, but Absolutely. It also fits in like that angry, like, the angsty teen.
Sure.
Where like you're brooding and you want everybody to know that you're angry outside of your room, but you are not coming out of your room. Mm-hmm. But you're also kind of happy to be angry. It's good stuff.
I do have one question though. Like if it's, you said the women love women TikTok, they fell in love with the song about the truck.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't it make more sense if it was a Subaru?
Listen, there's not that many songs about Subarus and it's really sad. We all imagined a Subaru, I'm sure. There was a Jeep or the Subaru, like, because that's what it is now.
Yep.
But
anyhow, Dante's Peak. So we pick up with some more steamy romance.
The moral of the story is though, Nickelback is not mid.
Okay, well, hot take. The movie is. We'll get into it. So yeah, we get into it here. With, speaking of romance, we got Harry and Rachel are Harry goes to visit Rachel in the morning at her little deli, at her little diner thing or whatever. Mm-hmm. They have an interaction that doesn't make any sense. I talked about this when we were watching it just now. Where he gets some coffee from her.
Oh yeah,
and he's like,
this really grinds your gears, man.
Yeah, well, this is where we talked about Pierce's pretty privilege. That might be the title of the episode.
Pierce's pretty privilege.
So because he's like,
No, it really is though.
He's like, I'm sorry that I ruined your chances for re-election, sort of got you in trouble with the city council
she
yesterday.
doesn't give a shit.
Well, yeah, she has not given any indication that she was mad at him about doing that.
She also doesn't seem like she ran for mayor. Like she just by default got it.
Yeah, well, yeah, which is bizarre because you think that would be maybe her main motivation, being the mayor. But also, like, this would make sense if she, after that whole meeting with the council and stuff, if she was like, hey, you really embarrassed me in front of all those guys. You got me all panicked. Now I got them all panicked. What the hell is that about? And then they left on kind of a bitter note. They don't. That doesn't happen. There's no interaction like that. So when he's apologizing for an interaction that never happened, basically. And he's also has a line here where he's like, I'm better with volcanoes than I am with people and politics. Which, no, he's not.
No, he's not.
He's Pierce Brosnan. He is the stud Pierce Brosnan who's been risen her up since he got here. He took a picture of her on the mountain earlier. He was like, hey, give us a smile. And
Which, by the way, trivia fact for you, was just Pierce's camera.
Yeah.
That he carries in like a hip pocket.
Why? Well, again, which is very dorky, which is the idea, but he's like, has this line. He's like, I'm just not very good with people. Which would make sense if, like what you were saying earlier, if he was a guy who looked like he smelled. If he was like some dork or some nerd or some like just more... We were looking too on the trivia that like Michael Douglas was originally considered for this role.
That's much better.
That would have made sense because Michael Douglas is a weird dude. He has a charm to him, but it's an eccentric charm.
He's just an eccentric dude.
Yeah, it's a weird. He's a little. I don't know. He's got that raspy voice. He's just like he has I buy him as like a weird scientist who doesn't know how to talk to people, but still gets them to listen to him.
He could have mad scientist hair too. I'm not saying he does now. I'm just saying that like he can get there. Like it's Whereas like Pierce's hair is perfectly coiffed at every turn.
Yeah, and he goes. Yeah, he does not. He goes through a lot of damage in this movie. He still looks pretty. He still looks fine throughout it. Yeah, like what? So this just doesn't.
Like he grits his teeth and like he's supposed to be in agony, and he's still.
Looks fine.
He's still hot.
He loses.
I don't like that I find him hot, by the way. I don't.
I think you love that you find him hot. I think it's fine.
I don't know. It doesn't feel appropriate.
So when you need me.
Shut the fuck up.
But it's just weird. And so she invites him to dinner, and I hate this romance. It feels so forced. It's the complete opposite of Twister with just the very natural romantic arc that they had in that one. This one, it's like, what do they see in each other? He's a volcano scientist. She's a mayor. They have nothing to talk about.
He's just new to town.
It's like Leonardo DiCaprio and like these 20-year-olds that he keeps dating. It's like, what do you talk about all day?
Oh.
What do you do? Are you into the same things? No, he's a weird.
Probably.
No, just more sniffing. But they don't, like, they have nothing in common. They have nothing to talk. That doesn't make any sense.
I really don't know. I mean, I feel like he needed an ally. All right, this is going to be me overthinking it.
Sure.
He needed an ally because clearly his team's not really like fully on his side either because Paul's just here out of obligation to science, really. And because, he feels bad for his buddy. Like, because clearly they were at least like pals at some point.
Sure.
Or
They still are. They're frenemies.
Pseudo-ish.
Yeah.
So Harry knows he's kind of on his own here and like he's just kind of going on this train, if you will. Pretty much he's driving it and it's empty. And he needs passengers for it to be, a real train. So
great metaphor.
You gotta have cars,
Yeah.
By attaching to the mayor, I think he knows one, he needs that influence. If in fact he's right,
if things go bad, yeah.
He absolutely needs that influence. And then two, he just needs a pal. He's been a lonely guy. Yeah,
but he doesn't need a girlfriend. He doesn't like that. That is not a necessary. The romance is not a necessary. I think it would make more sense if it was like if she was like a park ranger or someone who maybe like did more shit on the mountain. And so they have more of a point of connection there.
Additionally, if Harry weren't so Pierce.
Yeah.
I think. Which we've already been talking about this whole time. But like, if I could see, okay, we'll do an exercise. We'll put Michael Douglas in there. at this time period, it should be age appropriate. I can't tell because I've
It's
only ever
fine.
known him as old.
Yeah.
But age appropriate Michael Douglas with crazy hair.
With Linda Hamilton.
Yeah, and and cargo shorts and the little cargo vest. Okay.
Sure.
And then Linda Hamilton, and he's just kind of going at it about this actually could kill you.
This mountain's gonna blow up.
This could kill you.
Yeah.
If that were the case, there's still no need to romance Linda Hamilton.
No need whatsoever.
Uh,
This
this is no better than a Disney movie.
It diminishes her because this is all she gets to do, as we find out, is just make eyes at Pierce.
Yeah, and that's dumb.
It's very dumb. It's
Because
such
she is actually a useful character.
She could have been. She could have been, and they don't. No, she gets no wins in this whole movie. There is not like a single thing I think that she does that's like, oh, I'm glad you thought of that. It's all Pierce. So yeah, it's such a it's a mess.
This is so sad.
Anyway,
I don't like this one.
they set up their dates. The more we talk about it,
I
yeah.
hate it.
So they set up their date. Pierce goes off to do some helicopter recon.
Oh yeah, he's coming over for eggplant parmesan. He had a good line here where she was like, "How do you feel about eggplant parmesan?" And he goes, "For breakfast."
For dinner. I'm inviting you for dinner. It's like I like it. I like the script. We don't need it.
Right.
So he does. So we get him here. They're doing some.
They go to check the sulfur dioxide emissions.
Yeah, there's not enough significant readings. He was kind of disappointed. Now we get to the date. They're at dinner. He has kid riz, is what we talked about. He's doing like magic tricks for the kids, and they're eating up and they're loving him. Which again, it's like
no dimension to the kids here either.
It's
because in some world, this kid, like that older kid, is waiting for his dad to come back.
You kind of see him be a little apprehensive about it, but he also, like, in his face, like, he has like a okay guy. But then also by the end of the magic trick, he's like, I guess you're cool.
Yeah.
But so that would be good too, like you're saying. Like if there was more drama there, he's like, you're not my real dad. Like, what are you trying to? Why are you butting in?
Dad.
Why are you butting into my family like this? But that isn't explored.
Nope.
They just automatically like him, and he's, again, it's like if you imagine, I said this when we were watching it, imagine anyone else doing anything that Pierce ever does.
It's creepy.
It's creepy. It's if he's doing weird magic tricks, if he's like talking like I like volcanoes more, then it's weird. But Pierce is just
But here comes pretty privileged Pierce.
so handsome that he just gets away with just being a weird, goofy guy all the time, and nobody it's so funny.
It is.
So he and Rachel go out on the porch, and they kind of exchange backstories here.
So this is where, because we didn't know
The context of the opening scene and stuff.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, obviously we know, like, there's context there. Like, they were obviously romantically involved because they keep calling each other honey and baby and whatever.
No, Pierce has several terms of endearment throughout this. He has sweetheart, sweetie pie, darling,
He just
honey.
wants to get it.
Yeah, no, but just imagine him saying them all to you, and it's like,
What?
no, don't be honest with yourself. Be so for real. Be so for real. Pierce hugging you in the middle of the
fold. I fold.
I've got you, sweetheart. You know, come on. Come on.
Yeah, there is a world where that
Be
that
real.
works. It doesn't. It's the accent too, man.
It's all over. I hope I'm doing a good Pierce this episode. I hope I'm doing it justice. I don't know.
I don't honestly don't wanna.
We're going to make it, darling. But
Ooh, that one was actually really good though.
anyway. But they're trading backstories. Rachel's talking about how like she and the husband got married pretty young, and he split kind of recently or whatever.
Yeah, and he just kind of disappeared.
Pierce talks about.
and then we talk about how Ruth probably also does not know where dude is.
Yeah.
His own mom.
Yeah. So this could have been a little meatier. You could have had the husband be like abusive or something. I don't know. It's just kind of like a thread.
Why?
Yeah, a lot of whys, which maybe that's a good thing. It's
I
like
guess.
sometimes there is no explanation, and that's kind of fine. But Pierce talks about his stuff. Marianne from the beginning, who got killed in this
So we find out that
eruption.
she was his coworker. She was also just as intense. She probably more intense than him, and I think he kind of admits that too. I think he sort of says
We
like,
got too close to it. Yeah.
yeah, and
when he does,
that she was also his fiance, which I didn't know from the beginning.
he does good here. I like their delivery on this. Like they do.
He does mournful well.
He has this wistful tone to him, and so does she. Like this is a good scene. It's just it's founding a romance I don't care about. And I don't buy. Like, it's in service of something that just does not need to exist. And it's like I just don't, okay. Like, it's great. That kind of just goes for the whole movie. It's like great effects, great performances, pretty decent music, great little action sequences, all in service of just like, ugh. So they have this trauma dump exchange. We cut to Rachel the next morning. She's rehearsing. Hello, Harry.
Hello, Harry.
Hi,
like
Harry.
She's trying to figure out how to say hi.
Yeah, she's bringing...
Which is real. That's so real. Because, like, the morning after you have, like, a moment is hard. Or, like, the time after you have a moment.
Right.
Because you're not, like, quite together yet, but you're also not together.
But also, is it working? All she knows about this guy, volcano scientist, hot, lost his fiancée to a volcano. Okay.
I mean, he's completely available. I guess I'm good.
It's just that he's hot. There is there is nothing that he's done other than like maybe being good with the kids. But even that is just like...
Well, that's charming.
Yeah, that's true. Like you said, kid riz. That's a thing. You can get her kids to like you, fellas.
It's working.
You're in. The more you think about it. Yeah.
I don't like it, but it's working.
So she brings coffee to everybody.
Which you mentioned was kind of stupid.
Well, I don't like... It makes one of the guys in the gang become very annoying because he's obsessed with coffee.
Well, so if you put this in the context of Gilmore Girls, which is another small town show, which you have not seen.
This is the second reference you've made to Gilmore Girls across the show.
It's consumed my life.
Great.
She has a scene, and she's pretty much known for consuming coffee pretty much the whole show, and it revolves around her relationship with coffee more than anything else. That's her most studious relationship. But one of and this is a direct callback, which is why I'm bringing it up. He says, coffee, 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 coffee.
Yeah.
In one of her, so she goes through an arc where, like, her usual place she can't go because she had a thing with the owner. So she has to go to
a different coffee place.
And so she calls in her order to pick it up on the way to work or whatever. And she calls it in while she's, like, still half asleep, right? And she goes, coffee, 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 coffee. And... Actually, I think she said coffee, coffee, coffee. This poor lady at this very nice bakery / like diner type thing has like 3 things of coffee waiting for her. And she was like, I
just wanted one.
I just wanted one. Like, that's just what that means. She's like, no, coffee, coffee, coffee is just an expression. And so I think it actually is kind of calling back to this because he says it kind of in the same cadence that she does.
Interesting.
And it's this is one of those weird, like, because she's also like a movie file. She's she's like old movie file too. So she made her friends watch Casablanca. She made her she made her kid watch all these other things.
Like me. Yeah.
Yes, very much like you. Okay. So I think this would have been in her repertoire of things that she would have known.
Yeah.
And like inadvertently referenced.
He reminds me of the squirrel in Over the Hedge.
That goes far back for me. I think that had a lasting impression, though.
Yeah, I'm 90% certain there's a scene in there where the squirrel like drinks coffee and becomes like a dynamo or whatever.
Yes, literally goes nuts.
Yeah.
But also like Scrat from
It's
Ice
very
Age.
Scrat. That was the other one I was going to reference was
this
Scrat.
This dude does kind of look like Scrat.
Yeah. So, but it's it's cringe to me. The point being that I find it cringe. I find it like, this is not endearing.
Well, but he does turn into, he can be endearing if you want to like him.
He's the most like sad later on.
What?
When Paul dies.
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
like he does have
I
like.
thought you were saying he was a sad character, and I was like, no, he's not.
No,
he's just a dude.
But again, you see what they're trying to do. Where it's like, oh, this is the coffee guy. This is the robot guy. Whatever. They try to like give everybody little quirks.
Yeah,
but it's just
in
not
the same way that Twister had things where Rabbit was the map dude and Dusty was the music dude.
Yeah, like you see what they're doing, and like, oh, this guy likes the classical music or whatever. You know, like they're trying to characterize him a little bit, but it's just like this. I don't know. To me, like coffee is a very lazy character trait. I'm like,
well, okay. But we were talking about this in the break. It lacks whimsy, and I think that's why it doesn't land. They don't fully commit to the bit.
Yeah, like you'd think this would be a funny moment where it's like, oh, this is, but in a if it was a high drama situation when the volcano's collapsing or whatever, and he's like, wait, I gotta go get the coffee machine. That would be funny.
Right.
That would be funny if like, oh, like his little quirk is like tied in during like a dramatic moment. It's not. There's none of those moments.
It's just there to be there.
Yeah, it's just there. Yeah. But you're right. There's no whimsy. There's no haha funny moments in between all the action that like, oh, that's funny. That's a good like breather in the middle of this like traumatic scene.
Yeah, but she brings in like 8 cups of coffee guy. Interrogates her about the beans, about the machine.
Yeah, so you see him like having the quirk.
But it fades into the background in favor of Pierce and I think Terry and Harry. Terry and Harry, because they're about to go on a little expedition.
Right.
Which, if we'd have let that scene breathe, would you have liked it more? Like if we'd have gotten more insight into Homie as to why he loves coffee so much.
I would have liked more scenes of the crew just hanging out and like in that little office and like just kind of like,
which is kind of what I mean by letting that scene breathe.
Yeah, just breathe with them, and they're always just at work.
Yeah,
kind of. They're working.
They're colleagues.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, we see them. They're trying to test the like spider-like robot that they've leased from NASA.
Yes.
That Terry's obsessed with. Like this is his baby. It's too heavy to move or something, so they detach the ELF system, which is like a beacon device.
It's low frequency something.
Okay. So and that will come back around later. So they leave the ELF behind.
But this is from NASA. So again, this movie does not take anybody seriously, including NASA, which to me at this point, NASA is like successfully sending the people to the moon. Like,
it's the 90s. We'd fallen off. This is post-Challenger disaster. At this point, we're just doing like satellites and like remote.
I guess that's why they get to make fun of it.
It's
because of the Challenger?
All they're doing are robots. So technically, this is like the height of like NASA robot. This is when like we had given up on manned missions and all we're sending are like rovers and robots like this. So it does make sense that it would be a robot. I don't think they're making fun of it because the robot sucks, but
yeah,
because they do say thank you NASA in the end. But
I mean, for as rudimentary as this time period was, we have robots now that look very
pretty similar. Yeah,
you like Mini Cheetah specifically looks very similar. It's a smaller version. Obviously, with Mini,
just these like crawly robots.
Yeah, but like the legs are pretty much built the same, and they move pretty much the same.
Yeah, so this thing does not do well. So they're out on the mountain, and it's basically trying to like get like high res pictures of the craters and like analysis of that, and so it's
and trying to like look into show the activity of the sulfur dioxide and or seismic activity as it goes.
So it gets lodged on like the cliff face and it gets stuck down there.
Mind you, the crater as they're in it is crumbling as the robot goes down.
Yeah, there's all these like minor quakes happening that like they're writing off as like that's just standard volcanic activity. It doesn't necessarily there's gonna be quakes. You're gonna get quakes.
Right, and these were actually shot at Mount St. Helens. These crater shots.
Yeah. Yes, very cool. Very cool.
I was about to fight you if you were going to breeze past that.
No, you're right. Very cool. Very cool. Again, I've been there, and it's a beautiful fucking sight. We'll say that just on production, is that the visuals of this, the stuff they do on location, do look beautiful.
Yeah, very
great
cool.
shots of like the Cascade Mountains and stuff. So like they're making the most of what they get there. Terry goes down to like dislodge the robot.
Gets stuck.
Trapping under some rubble. And this scene drags too.
He breaks his leg. Pierce goes down to rescue him. They call on the chopper. The chopper wants more money. The chopper pilot wants to renegotiate his rate.
Yeah, which is, again, the weird kind of like side, like anti-capitalist message where it's just like, oh, people who want money are awful, which is true.
In the meantime, though, like as they're in there, like there is small earthquakes happening.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's what caused it. Yeah. But this drags. This should be our first big actiony, like, oh, something's really, since kind of like the hot springs scene, I guess. And this just kind of like takes a while. Pierce has to climb all the way down there and take these rocks off. Like, it's just a slow scene for like what should be like a nice tense thing. So I just don't feel the tension.
Well, because he's still got his Ray-Bans on as he goes down the mountain,
He looks so cool. He looks so cool in his little jumpsuit.
So annoying is that like Terry's in this like bright yellow jumpsuit that looks like a hazmat suit.
Mm-hmm.
Pierce is in bright orange, which should make him look like he's in prison. It does not.
He just looks like a mountain guy. He looks fine.
Well, because it's Pierce. It's pretty privileged Pierce.
Yeah. I think too, it's because it keeps cutting back to the crew in the room. It's like, okay, like if we were just on the mountain with Harry and Terry, that would be like, oh, it's just them, and they
but
have to
how do you get the chopper getting called? Because he still has to radio back to get the chopper called.
Yeah, there's not a good way to do it. It's like it's kind of like a writing thing where it's like, I don't know. It drags. It's not as exciting as I want it to be. I don't know how I would do it otherwise. I probably would just not do it.
Right.
Because this ultimately doesn't really affect the plot any, other than like they get the readings and they get like the quakes are bad.
And we get the elf taken off.
And we get the elf taken off, but Terry being hurt, it doesn't really affect the team any. You know what I mean? Like that
that's
doesn't.
True.
All it really does is it makes Harry panic a bit more and be like, "This quake is serious.
Right.
Maybe we lose the robot instead of Terry." You know, I don't know. Like it's a weird scene that drags, and I won't drag the episode any longer talking about it. But I don't know. I don't love it.
We had issues with this whole thing, though.
Yeah. We get the great bit here where Harry's being a downer in the hospital. So Terry's laid up in the hospital. He makes it, and they're all joking at him, be like, "Ha, you know, they say my brain will be better. They just gotta check that," and be like, "Oh, then you're never getting out of here,"
right?
Whatever. And then Harry's like, "Guys, I think we have a problem here."
Yeah, cut to like because everybody else is joking around, and I guess that's why it's so disjointed is because he is also not part of the team. Like
he's so separate because he's such a downer all the time.
Yeah, that's probably
so
what it is.
He doesn't vibe with them other than maybe Terry a little bit.
Yeah, because at least you knew with Joe and Bill that they both each individually had relationships with everybody on that team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this one does not feel like Harry is a part of this unit,
right?
In any meaningful way. Yeah,
because you've got like Dusty checking up on Joe. Mm-hmm. You know, how was it? It was windy.
And they reference
like, and that's so cool, dude.
They have a couple moments where they try, like we talk about, they're kind of joshing him earlier about Rachel.
Yeah.
And it's just like, you want my advice on women? He's like, no, of course not. Remember Astrid?
Oh, yeah.
It's just like,
and Astrid.
You both liked rocks. She liked crystals.
Which Astrid in and of itself.
Crystal bitch name is what you said. You were like, that's the name of a crystal bitch.
Like, you know that girl has crystals. Like, you just know.
Ugh.
Or she had parents who had crystals.
So they try. Again, they try to like make him seem like he's part of the team. They just don't have the vibe.
It's not there.
It's not there.
He takes it seriously, though. They're still monitoring pretty much around the clock while Terry's on the mend. Terry's just on crutches. He's hanging out.
Yeah, it's like a week later. Paul gives him a week later to go through these readings and see. Basically decides, like, there's not enough data here to support that this thing's going to blow. We're going to clear out in the morning.
Yep.
So take the night off, do whatever. Harry's pretty pissed at this.
So he goes to find comfort with Rachel.
Yep. Rizzes Rachel up at the bar, takes her home.
And she's like, I should make some coffee. And he was like,
He's so smooth. He's too fucking smooth. Because, let's do it. All right.
No. I don't like it.
She's like,
I
should make some
like
coffee.
it.
He's like, no, you don't need to make any coffee. And she's like,
I should make some coffee. I should
Rachel,
really make some coffee.
I don't know how to tell you this. I never really cared for your coffee.
Cut to her just like falling into his arms.
Yeah, they like do this like nuzzle and it's like
they don't even kiss, man. It's
no.
gross.
And she's like, I haven't been with anyone in a long time. Neither have I, but it's like
riding a bicycle.
Like the lines this guy has are just
it's just the accent and the timbre of his voice.
Yeah. But again, he's supposed to be
and the smolder.
He's supposed to be an awkward volcano scientist who is haunted by his recent past and is bad with people. Where the hell is that character?
Pierce took over.
The thing is he's so charming, you don't even mind.
Yeah.
But then as you're thinking about it later, you're like, wait a minute.
That wasn't supposed to work.
Yeah. Anyway.
It did, though.
So, but before they can get it on, before she can blow her top.
No.
The kid,
Lauren needs a glass of water.
Right. So they find that the water is contaminated. They go check the local water source, and it's all sulfurized, all sulfur dioxide. Dioxidized?
It's been contaminated with sulfur dioxide.
Yeah. But this is good. Again, but this is also funny too to me because she like holds the glass up to him and he's like, yes, I immediately know what's wrong. He's so competent. Not a flaw on this guy. You know what I mean?
Well,
Other than
sulfur has a very distinct smell.
But I mean, I think it's just funny.
Have you ever smelled rotten eggs?
Regrettably.
That's
Sure.
what sulfur is.
Sure, yeah.
Like it's like you know what that is. Like
Yeah.
if it was just dirty water or like a busted pipe, it wouldn't have had a smell.
But I mean, I think it just shows that, like how she is always looking at him to figure out what is going on.
Oh, true.
It's like that could have been a moment where she's like, wait a minute.
This smells like sulfur.
This
and
is
then,
wrong. And then she returns to him.
And he'd
or
be like,
something.
I think you're right. You know, like
But
that could have been.
she gets no moment, I think, ever in this movie where she figures something out.
No, it does a real disservice to her.
Yeah. So I just so even those little things like that where you don't even notice it, and it's like, oh, he's just always on top of it. Ugh. So it's so frustrating. So they go to the they go to Paul. They show Paul what's up, and Paul's like, oh fuck, I was wrong.
Paul's like, yeah, I'm wrong. Like, let's get everybody in here. He calls the National Guard.
Yeah, National Guard cannot get there until tomorrow, which is ridiculous.
Yeah, no, I can't.
Shitty ass National Guard.
What did the National Guard have to do?
Y'all got planes. Y'all got choppers. Get here.
No, do they?
Sure.
Sure.
I don't know.
Yeah, they have at least choppers for sure. They've got helicopters.
They show up. Whatever. So they can't. Again. It's
so
just,
they put the town on alert that night, though.
Yeah, they hold a big. Well, before they hold a big kind of press conference thing, they try to call Grandma. They try to call Ruth. Ruth is like adamant that she is. I'm not coming down the mountain when she comes.
She ain't coming down the mountain when she comes.
Oh, I'm not coming. So she's not doing it. The kids are like, she's not coming, is she? And so they kind of leave the kids behind to get into some shenanigans.
I mean, the kids are kind of the MVPs of this movie, for real.
Well, no.
Kind of.
No, they make things get even more complicated than they need to be.
Yeah, but also, sure.
It's just the plot. It's literally just for plot. Like, everyone is an idiot in this movie. Everyone takes, like, crazy actions like the kids do here purely to move things along.
Like, it could have been great, is the thing. Like, this is so bad.
It's like if the characters were competent and things still went wrong, that would be one thing. I'd be like, man, nature truly is just brutal sometimes.
Right.
And like you're saying, but it's the only reason anything goes wrong is because, like, the scientists don't listen to Pierce. The kids don't listen to Mom. Grandma doesn't listen to, it's just no one listens to anybody. And so you just get, like, mad. It's one of those where, like, why won't you just listen to people?
That is true.
And it's and not, which is supposed to be the intended reaction. It's not a reaction I like
Having.
Yeah, it's not an emotion I like feeling.
Right.
So they go to the high school, and they're having a big, like, evacuation meeting.
As they are having the meeting, the earthquakes start happening.
Rumble, rumble, rumble. Let's go. The movie fucking starts, baby.
Yeah.
Let's
this
go.
is finally where it starts.
This is dope.
And this takes too long to start.
Yeah. It's a lot of setup. It's set up with characters who feel a little forced.
Because at this point, we only have 20 minutes left in the runtime.
Is it about? Yeah, it's not that. It's more than 20. It's closer to 30 or so, but it's not.
It's still not where
it's
it
not a
should've
lot.
been.
Yeah, which is another one of my problems with disaster movies is, like, okay, we take too long to get to the disaster part of it.
Right.
Which is, again, fine if it's something like Titanic,
Well,
where,
and
like,
the
I
thing
love that
is,
first
too,
half.
when you think about how long they had to, like, set this up, why is there not a better setup?
Right. Why haven't we fallen in love with the town?
Right.
Like, if we're having this whole town festival, let's have, like, Harry go to the festival and, like, do some festival things. Let's see him, like, fall in love with the people. Let's, you know what? The one I was thinking about comparing this to that does that really well, Groundhog Day.
Yeah.
Where, like, where
It does.
by the nature of that movie, you're forced to, like, live in Puxatawny forever. Just, like, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, that's just the premise of it but you learn to love that town in that movie. This one, we have no reason to love this town.
Yeah.
We barely have reasons to like Rachel and the kids.
Yeah.
So, and, like, they seem they're trying to do it with, like, there's, like, the weird lady that, like, sees them on the road and, like, is like, oh, hey, you two.
Right.
And, and the investors and the sheriff and whatever.
Yeah, because in a town as small as that, they definitely have, like, busybodies who you
Sure.
could have gotten to know. all kinds of. There's an Aunt Bee somewhere making a pie.
They don't do any of that to make you be like, oh no, now it's all gone, or have Harry have any investment other than like getting this chick. Ugh.
Right.
Ugh. So many uhs in this one. But anyway, good part of the movie. Earthquakes are happening.
Yeah.
High school is falling apart. Everyone's trying to get out.
The windows are blowing in, like they're in the high school gymnasium, and that starts to basically cave in on itself.
This shit is so real. Going back to like practical effects and like models and shit, falling in the streets. These awesome sweeping like zooms and overhead shots and these like dramatic fucking angles.
Well, and then
This
you
is
see like
so
the mayhem of the people just sort of trying to get out. It like obviously it's just like your regular double door gym, so like it's not like they're these huge doors that they can exit out of.
Yeah, no, it's a small town. You see like the main street like fall apart and stuff. It's so good. I love like this is like
The falling apart was stressful and it was good. I will give it that.
The production is so good, and again, it's all just in service to like kind of like a mass story. But I love this shit. I love it so much. The kids, meanwhile, hijack the truck.
So as they're on the stage, they're like, we have to get the kids. So they jump into Pierce's truck, which for whatever reason she did not drive her own vehicle, other than the fact that she was probably in love with Pierce.
Yeah.
So they jump into Harry's truck, which is this mammoth of a thing.
Love it.
Which, by the way, again, very cool Hot Wheels car.
Yeah.
It's got the like ridiculous exhaust pipe that comes up. This is important because it has a snorkel.
It has a snorkel.
Because instead of taking the bridge that everybody is like sort of backed up on, and
yeah, the highways are collapsing and everything.
Well, and like the rocking around has people not only going into each other like forward, but like sideways. They're like falling into each other in their cars.
It's a good driving sequence of them like driving around downtown and down this alley. Like it's kind of roller coaster.
And this is where if we'd have known the town, we'd know where they were.
Oh yeah. If you kind of had gotten to like know the layout of it a bit more, that would have been kind of rewarding, sure.
Yeah.
But he gets the bright idea to drive him down into the river.
Yeah.
Which everyone else starts to do too.
But they don't have the exhaust pipe above the thing.
He's like, they'll never make it. And it's like you will?
Right. Well, because he has the snorkel.
He does. So yeah,
he does actually make it.
Yeah. Another car falls in and like bumps him up the ridge. So they're okay. But we cut to the kids who have taken Rachel's truck
to go up the mountain to go rescue Grandma.
This shit is dope because like we get kind of like with Twister, like the lighting that's like flashing and epileptic stuff. I love that. I fall in love with that visual across both of these movies.
We also got the snow, like what looked like the snow-covered town or like mountain.
It's
but
ash. It's such a cool visual. Like it's very gray, but it's still very visually cool to look at.
Yeah.
Less aesthetically pleasing, exactly. We get the chopper. The asshole chopper who wanted more money to rescue Terry.
This comes back.
Yeah, so this is kind of like the message scene.
I guess.
Which is like, so like the chopper lands and then like the one councilman, Les and Blair from the industry that was going to invest in the town, they are like, he's taking $15,000 to take people out of here. So they hitch a ride with the chopper. So it's all the people that want to make money. The ash gets sucked up into the rotors.
Right.
And the great shot of like Paul like yelling at the heavens.
Yeah.
And like ash is like falling on him.
Yes.
And he's like, no, you can't. Stop.
Which he specifically says is he's like, if they fly too close, they're going to get ash in the engine and it's going to go kaput.
Which it does. Also great action sequence where like the chopper does like crash like right in front of
Pierce and
Rachel.
Rachel.
Yeah. And he radios them. He's like, get the fire department. I'm like, dude. No one's coming.
Who's going to make it?
What are you talking about? But this is goofy where it's like, oh, the people that like wanted to like turn the town into a corporatocracy all die in and it's like, this would make sense again if like the business caused the volcano to become more active or something like that. But it's like if these characters are just punished because they didn't listen, and like that kind of makes sense in like a horror movie rules kind of way. But it's, I don't know. I'm not trying to like be like pro-capitalist when I talk about these, but I think the movie is like going for this theme here where like, oh, the helicopter pilot wanted more money and like the councilman wanted more money and the industry guy wanted money.
Yeah, pro-corporation, it's definitely trying not to be pro.
Yeah, it's trying to be anti that stuff.
Or that's the word.
But it's not. it's such a sideways kind of side plot that's not.
Well, it's still half baked.
Yeah, again, just half baked. I wish it was like they were drilling or something, and that fucked everything up. That would make sense.
That would have been better.
Like that would make this death of theirs a little more meaningful. Just like Jonas is in the last one, where he died because he
Wouldn't listen.
That would make sense. But
Yeah.
Anyway.
So then, because he trusted in his corporate
bullshit. Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
There it is. So then we cut from that scene to this was really fun for me. Was the kids driving, which Graham, the son,
Not Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
not Joseph Gordon-Levitt, but Joseph Gordon-Levitt's probably like stunt double in another life, is driving, which did we ever establish how old he was? 10, 11?
Something like that.
12 maybe?
12 at the most, I would say.
12 at the most. So he's young as hell.
He's got little legs.
He's got little legs, and his sister, this is where I really like his sister, Lauren. She's like, do you know how to drive in all the gears? And he's like, yeah. He's stressed, by the way. Like he knows that what he's doing is stressful, but like he's determined.
It's so silly. It's so goofy.
And then she's like, well, can't you it's the wipers. Can't you make the wipers go any faster? And he's like, I don't know how.
I don't know. Somehow they still make it. They somehow make it to grandma's. Right. Meanwhile, Rachel and Harry are trying to catch up, but they kind of get avalanched. And the road gets like blocked off behind them by like trees and boulders and shit. Good little action sequence again.
Mm-hmm.
I like how this is shot. It's super dark and like, and those rocks and shit feel very real.
Yes.
So I dig it. Again, I dig.
The ash is actually newspaper.
Mm-hmm.
Torn up newspaper.
Right. Very effective.
Yes.
Very effective. They make it to grandma's. Ruffy like runs off, which will be important later. Ruffy kind of recurs throughout.
Again, I had already looked up in like the first scene if this dog dies.
Yeah.
But I was still
again,
stressed.
like we said last time, effective tool. You throw a dog in there, it adds a nice little stress level. Good little
because I was
stressor.
fine with everybody else dying.
Mm-hmm. Especially grandma, because she sucks. So they pull up.
And she's still fighting about it.
She's still like, I'm not leaving. Yeah, so they pull up and everyone makes it to grandma's. They go inside and Rachel's arguing with her and she's like, I told you we needed to leave. You're a fool, blah, blah, blah. And grandma, meanwhile, is like still reminiscing in the attic. Finding like a photograph of like her husband.
Yeah, because Pierce is trying to get supplies. He's trying to get like like a flashlight, other things.
He's radioing the crew and loses contact here. So like they're not, he at least tells them like, hey, we're up here. But contact is lost.
And they already know because of the road crash, like the trees crashing behind them, that the road is absolutely.
They're stuck. And whatever happens, they're stuck up here.
Right. They have to find another way down the mountain.
Right. Great sequence here where like the lava. The lava pools through. I lava this part of the movie. The lava pools through the house.
Yeah.
Great, like almost like kind of like a 3D movie type shit. Where you see like
it's kind of scary.
The red, it's so badass.
Because it's like dark, but then that lava is like bright orange on fire.
Great lighting.
Yeah.
Great lighting.
Oh, well done.
Where
Very
it's dark
well
but illuminated just in like the right way.
Points to production here too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this again, like this whole other half of the movie is actually very good visually, at least.
Mm-hmm.
And so is the first half. Like I said, like great Dutch angles and just fun camera work, despite how like mundane kind of everything going on might be.
Yeah. Well, it gives it some depth.
Mm-hmm. So the great shot here of them like running out the house and like the river of lava like pooling across the house, and they're all just like running next to it. So cool. Trying
to outrun it.
They hop in
yelling for Ruffy the whole way, by the way.
Ruffy's, I think, maybe
terrifying.
Yeah, he's gone, but not forgotten.
Oh.
They hop in a boat and then start pooling down the what's left of the river, only to find the water is acidic.
Yeah, and you sort of see it in a horror movie type kind of way because it starts to bubble through the bottom of the boat first.
Yeah, they see the dead fish in the water and they're like, oh no. And just in case you're confused by the situation, Rachel does have a line here. Acid melts metal. Again, the most she gets to do
is just point out the
just
obvious.
Be there. Yeah. Ugh. So then we get the creepiest fucking scene of the movie where Pierce just like, he gets everybody to sit up and like, so they're not like eaten by the acid, and he starts singing.
This is the worst thing.
Row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, merrily,
row
merrily,
your boat gently down the street.
Merrily, merrily, merrily. And they do this for like good,
And
like
they do it in a round like you're supposed to, like you learned in kindergarten how to do.
2-3 minutes of them just doing this, and it's very dready. I like it.
It's the worst.
It's uneasy and it's unnerving, but like he's as scary as the situation is.
He's the scary one, too.
Yeah, it's like I don't feel comfort. Again, you see what they're going for, where it's like, oh, we got to keep the kids kind of sane in this moment. Mm-hmm. But it comes off as just kind of, this is weird. This is weird.
This is not great.
But it is buttoned by like a cool shot of like he pulls the propeller up and it's gone.
Yeah.
That was sick. First time I saw it, I was like, oh, fuck it, no.
Yeah.
Love that. And then he wraps his arm and shit because like they're still like several feet away from the dock. And so he like starts rowing them, and it's either not going fast enough. So we get great heroic sacrifice.
Well, before we get there.
Go ahead.
Because we have a slight moment where we sort of just kind of like look at each other.
Oh, right. With the crystal and everything.
Where Graham.
George.
I don't know who
Joseph.
George is. Graham. Graham gives his crystal to Lauren, and he says, if you're scared, you can have my crystal. And she's like, really? You mean that? I can keep it? Kid, you're not going to be alive for that much longer. Nobody's keeping shit. But all right, go ahead.
I like her little delivery on that. That was so
No,
sweet. She's like, I can
cute.
keep it. I love that.
This is not her fault.
No.
This is the writer's fault.
Yeah, but she's doing, again, they do as good a job as they can with it.
She's doing fantastic. Mm-hmm. So then he starts rowing, and they get what, 10 feet from the dock?
It looks further than that, but they do get closer before Grandma jumps out.
Well, because they're fighting time, the boat itself
is going to melt. Yeah.
The boat is melting, so they have only a limited amount of time to get to shore.
Grandma jumps out and burns her legs off to like pull the boat forward, which
this is very comical to me. Not comical, but like dark comedy, I guess.
Okay.
Where when she jumps out, because mind you, she's maybe 5'2".
Yeah, little lady.
She's tiny. Mm-hmm. When she jumps out, it's only like waist high for her, which is to tell you like how like comical it is that they're that close. You know what I mean? Like it's not funny comical, but like
wow, right? Just like how
normally tragic almost.
Yeah, like if it wasn't fucking acidic, you just hop out and wait it and you'd be fine.
Oh, absolutely.
But she kind of does.
She does. God, she does it screaming though.
When I saw this,
traumatic.
I was like, you know what? Grandma would survive Saw.
Oh yeah.
Grandma would actually do great in a Saw game. Like she would win. So she burns her legs off to like drag everybody here, like collapses on the shore.
They keep moving because they have to.
How do you feel about Ruth's little sacrifice here? Because to me, this is like, it comes down to like, this wouldn't have happened if she wasn't written to be a stupid character.
What do you mean?
Like the writers make her stay on the mountain purely so that we can like even get this scene and get this drama to happen at all. Mm-hmm. Same reason why like Paul doesn't listen to Harry just because so this can eventually happen. And so it's a contrived thing to me. But does it redeem her? In your eyes?
I think so. I mean, she ultimately makes the sacrifice for her family to survive, knowing that, she wasn't going to, and she's the reason why they may not have. Mm-hmm. So giving them the best shot in a deeper sense of it, yes. Specifically for her character,
yeah, I don't think we spend enough time with her.
But again, we don't spend enough time with anybody to really, other than Pierce, to really care.
Yeah, the only reason it
because the whole time that she's doing it, I'm like, where the fuck is the dog?
Still, yeah. The only reason it kind of works for me and why like I'm not, I think, as critical of her character as I am of like Paul, who's like, why aren't you listening to your best scientist? Like, that kind of like, he's just stupid because the plot needs him to be stupid. Mm-hmm. The only reason she works a little bit more for me is because of the real life story of the Harry Truman guy on Mount St. Helens.
Yeah,
like that's a moment where you're like, oh, isn't this unrealistic? That why wouldn't she flee? And it's like, well, Some people don't.
No, it's not even the why wouldn't she flee for me, because that makes sense. Like, she's just old and crotchety, and she establishes herself as a character very early on as being old and crotchety, and she's just a contrarian in general, especially about like going swimming and whatever. Like from
anything mom wants, she doesn't. Yeah,
right,
that kind of stuff.
To me, it's more so for her character because she is such a contrarian. Mm. Oh no, I'm talking myself into it. Because have you seen Steel Magnolias?
Oh yeah,
Weezer.
Yeah, I assistant directed a thing of Steel Magnolias back in high school.
Oh, that's fucking hell! I forgot about that. Mm-hmm. That's right.
Yeah,
it was good.
Yeah,
but Weezer.
Yes,
she's very Weezer-esque.
Yeah, sure.
And like by the end of the movie of Steel Magnolias, not to spoil it, but to spoil it, she does care.
Oh yeah.
She's cared the whole time, and she's
crotchety because she cares.
And she just doesn't know how to show love,
express it, and
so
stuff.
I guess yes, it lands. It's there.
It lands.
I got there. I had to think about it, but I got there.
It would have landed more again if like Rachel was a better character. If like the town. If she like founded this town and like Rachel just came into it and took over, you know what I mean? Again, there's more dramatic dynamics at play there that you could have written in and they just didn't.
Well, but the kids do a great way of selling it with the
the
way they're like, well, you have to make it's only 2 miles to the town. We only have to make it 2 miles. Please just.
It's a sad ass death scene.
Yeah,
it is. It's pretty sad. We don't get enough time with her for it to like really have much of an impact on me. But again, I see what they're going for.
I will give I expect an acid burn to look more grotesque than a regular burn.
Wanted some bone or something.
Well, I wanted like mangled flesh.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty ugly.
It's just singed. It's not like melted.
Well, she sells it when she does get burned. Of like that looks like hell.
Well, yeah, her yells are traumatic as hell.
Yeah,
for sure. But as far as when we get the like actual dramatic pan down shot to like what she looks like, I expected her legs to not like really be there.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I see what you're saying.
Like Walking Dead-esque, like falling off the bone type shit.
Yeah. That would be good.
Still a kid-friendly-ish movie, so I understand.
Kind of, sort. It's pretty dark. Again, like we said at the top, like this gets pretty dark. This is where it does. And so they like, and she dies, but she does a good line here.
She says, I get to stay on my mountain.
And that's good. I like that.
Because she does have some real grief while they're in the boat and the house blows.
Oh, yeah. She sees it destroyed and
goes up in lava.
And she does reconcile with Rachel. And she's like, we didn't give each other a chance. And you see that.
Yeah, it is nice that we tied this up with a nice, pretty bow so that nobody has any real regrets or like has anything left unsaid at the end with Grandma. That's nice.
Right. We move on to so the crew are escaping the town now.
Yes.
Every one of them makes out except for Paul at the end. He's held up. Oh, great shot in between here though. I did want to talk about the dam breaking.
Oh yeah,
beautiful shot. Ash covered dam. Yeah.
And then the dam breaking with just ash. It doesn't even look like water.
Yeah.
It's just, I mean. It's
ashy ass fucking water just like pour, like the dam breaks. There's a great shot of just the water rushing down this like valley.
Yeah.
It's so cool. Again, I love the visuals.
Shot
and it's all,
very well.
Even though it's all like kind of gray.
Yes.
It's still very visually striking. Mm-hmm. The crew escape except for Paul. He's stuck on this bridge that's collapsing because of this flooding. And he gets swept away by it and doesn't make it, but he's killed.
He like jumps out and you think he's gonna make it, and he like you get this very comical like falling backwards scene of him like holding on.
Well, it's even more comical because he does the Wilhelm scream. You know the scream I'm talking about, where it's like you hear it in Star Wars and you hear it in Indiana Jones. So it's like, wow, they really wanted to make this as funny as possible. Using like the stock scream effect. Mm-hmm. So that's hilarious that they didn't even give him the dignity of like a good scream sound effect.
No,
like I honestly kind of would have been fine if he lived too.
Yeah.
To also reconcile with Harry. That's kind of like a weird.
That would have been more.
Yeah.
Better.
That would have. Yeah, I would have liked that more. But pretty badass death scene. For what it like visually anyway.
And then shortly after that, we do get somebody who is saved. They find a ranger truck that's been abandoned.
Right, and just in case
suddenly. Pretty privileged Pierce
knows how to hotwire a car. Because of course he does.
Because he in his past life is Bond.
Yeah. Does Linda Hamilton know how to do this? Nah. She doesn't need to do anything.
Like, if she grew up in a small town, maybe she would have been the one who would have known how to do that because she had a rough past or something. Like,
right. Ugh.
Because she was like this troubled teenager. Or maybe even the kid knows how to hotwire the car because he's a troubled teenager.
Anything but Pierce being the one to do everything. So they hijack this Ranger truck. Also pretty good action sequence here, to its credit, where they have to drive through this like lava field that's running down the mountain.
Oh gosh.
And we get the badass. The tires like immediately catch fire. The whole truck is on fire. They're definitely dead in there.
Oh yeah.
Like this is like
they're cooked.
This is crazy. Literally cooked.
Literally
cooked. But movie logic ensues. I was reading that like this was competing that same year with the movie Volcano.
Yes, and so
Tommy Lee
they had
Jones.
to up production.
Right. This did beat it by a few months and also just barely beat it at the box office. But I was also reading that actual Volcano scientists gave this movie a C grade on like science, and Volcano got like an F. So technically this is the more scientifically accurate movie. This is one of the parts where it probably isn't, where the truck is still somehow standing in the middle of this lava field.
Definitely one of those parts. But in the truck being able to make it through this lava field, we get the best jump.
Yep.
It's the one I've been waiting for the whole movie.
Yeah.
Ruffy makes it.
Pierce is like, we only got one shot at this, and he drives by, and Ruffy does a great jump into the bed.
Truck bed, and then they drag him through the window, and he's
okay.
just happily sitting in the back seat.
Yep. It's great. They drive through, they make it down, they drive through the ruins of the town. Rachel has a line here that would hit if we cared about the town, where she's like, it took us 9 years to get this town up and running, and now look at it now.
She did have a good line there, yeah.
And it's like, that would be great if I maybe knew a bit more about the town, if I knew why it was so hard to make it, like there's the backstory for it, the setup of Dante's Peak as a town. The town has no character. I have no reason to mourn it. So it does not land. But again, you see what they're going for. Mm-hmm. Visually, it's very cool because the ash-covered wasteland. It looks beautiful, but the writing is just not there.
So as they go through the town, they realize that the dam or the bridge is probably out. And so then Harry goes back to their work. The
little like motel
shop?
Or whatever that they were working out of, yeah.
Yeah.
And he gets the elf device, which was detached from the robot from earlier. So again, nice little
tie-in.
Little payoff.
Yeah, everything does tie itself nicely.
There are technically setups and payoffs, yeah.
He grabs that, tosses that in the truck, and then they go, and here's our next bow. They go into the mine. Oh, well, he looks at the screen as he's leaving just to check to see what the prediction is for the next eruption. And there is another one.
Away.
Yeah, it's minutes away. So
pyroclastic cloud.
So he goes, he says, "Oh my God." And then he looks at the screen and he just kind of points at it and he goes, "Wait."
So great visual here of just like the volcano. This is the one. This is the eruption.
Yeah.
Boom happens. Black smoke is everywhere. It's like cascading
and
like the mountains.
And they're like,
the
"What is that?"
It's a pyroclastic cloud. It's coming. Don't look back. Don't look at it.
Yeah, like it's Sodom and Gomorrah. We can't look back or else we'll turn assault.
But great effects here of like you see like just every like building in the town gets a shot of it like blowing up. It's great. It's probably models and stuff.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's definitely full size models though. We thought at first that it might have been miniatures. The trivia says they're full sized.
Very cool.
Very cool.
Very cool. Like the disaster part of this movie, the actual disaster part of the disaster movie is great. The movie part of the movie.
Shit.
So, but yes, we get the other payoff of the mine. They kind of like ram into the mine. The Harry is like, "Graham, take us to your little hideout in here." So they go down there. He's got food and stuff. So they pitch camp there. We get the other awkward Pierce scene where this is where he's like, because they're like, he's like, "I have to go back to the I left the elf device in the thing. It's a beacon that will get us to safety." And they're like, "We're not going to make it, are we?" And he's like,
"Ever been deep sea fishing?"
"Children, have you ever been deep sea fishing?" "No." "Well, how about we get a boat, fill it up with the yummiest things, go down to Florida, and catch ourselves a great big fish."
A big old fat fish.
Big old fat fish. That sounds great.
Which is a hell of a visual after seeing all the dead fish in the acid lake.
It's like, what are you talking about?
I don't know.
At no point in the movie have the kids.
We live in Florida. Have you ever been deep sea fishing?
I don't think I've been deep sea fishing, but I've been like fishing. My brother caught like a shark once.
Oh yeah,
we were far out there.
We catch them all the time around here. Black tip for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But also, deep sea fishing is for sure an industry down here. But like, that's not the main reason you come to Florida.
It's more coastal fishing. That's more what we do.
We just
we don't
cast
go
off from the beach and get pompano out.
Yeah, maybe you get a boat, go a couple leagues out or whatever. But
yeah,
story wise, this is stupid because it's like,
also like, why is anybody fishing at all?
Yeah, it's like at no point does Graham be like, my dad used to take me fishing, or Pierce is just like, Marianne had
my
plans.
dad never took me fishing.
Marianne and I had plans to go fishing on our honeymoon down the whatever. There's
Ew.
nothing. There's no setup to this. It's just like, hey, do you guys want to go do a hobby that I wanted to do? It's like, no, weird stepdad.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
No.
So this, I get, and again, you see what they're going for. He's trying to provide them comfort in a moment of distress.
Yeah,
and
he's
like,
definitely trying to distract them.
It's Leo in Titanic being like, Rose, you're gonna get married, you're gonna have a bunch of babies, and you're gonna have whatever. It's him talking to her on the thing.
It is.
It doesn't make any sense.
No.
Because in Titanic we see Rose actually goes and does all that stuff.
Yeah.
In the end, so that's paid off.
Yeah, if we'd have ended this movie with them on a boat in Florida, I would maybe might have been okay with it.
But it's just weird. Instead, it's just weird stepdad talking about something like no one has ever brought up before.
Just a dude talking about dude stuff.
Yeah, you guys want to go fishing? So he goes back to like get the thing. A cave-in kind of happens. His arm gets broken in it. We see
compound fracture.
We see the fucking
bone
comes out. This is actually pretty metal. Again,
yes.
like effects-wise, I love this. I'm like, oh fuck, hell yeah.
That was hours of makeup. It had to be.
Oh,
There's
sure.
no way that is not.
It almost feels unnecessary. Like again, this is kind of where like, okay, movie, let's
wrap
it up. And like, oh no, now his arm is broken. So now he spends like a good
15, 20 minutes.
45 minutes trying to
hit the freaking button.
He crawls into the car and he manages to hit it off and it beeps. And then we cut to like a couple days later.
Which, by the way, this was a ridiculous cut.
What? I liked it. I liked like the beep echoing out across like the destroyed landscape of it. I liked those shots. I liked that sound.
How did we survive for 2 days? I have questions.
How did he survive? He was clearly just malnourished in the car for 2 days.
Had no fucking water.
Yeah.
No food for 2 days.
Yeah, the gang at least, the family had provisions. It sounds like.
And also, how do you piss?
Probably his. Yeah. Oh shit.
You know what I mean?
Just his pants. His nice white pants he's wearing.
Why is he always in white pants?
Yeah. For such a dirty job, yeah. But the crew back at Portland or wherever, they find his beacon. Thank you, NASA. And they show up, the National Guard and everybody pulls him out.
This is where we see Terry, who originally dogged NASA.
Oh, right. He's like, NASA gave me the shitty robot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now he's like, oh, hell yeah. So... So Pierce gets rescued. The family gets rescued. Everyone's happy to see him. They tell him Paul dies, and he's very sad for like a minute. But then Linda Hamilton comes out, and he's all over.
Well, Ruffy comes out first.
Ruffy, too. Ruffy's okay. Everybody hugs and kisses and cheers.
And then everybody gets in the helicopter.
And they ride off into the sunset, into the horizon.
As they're there.
Oh, she has the little girl is like, do you want to go?
Did you really mean it about going fish? About taking us fishing? And
absolutely.
Sure did.
Sure did. And that's kind of it. And they hold hands, and she and whatever. That's it. That's Dante's Peak. So it's strange. It just kind of stops.
Yeah.
I mean, it does kind of have a bit of, I guess, a little nice little climactic triumph here, but it's just, what about the town? What about Rachel's job? Does she get to be mayor of the next town over? Does she have another life lined up after this? Does she just go to move into Portland with Harry after knowing him for a week? There's so much like what nowism about the end of it to me.
Yeah.
Especially just with Rachel, where Rachel is concerned and her family is concerned, because at the end of the day, she's just so severely underdeveloped compared to Pierce that it's almost insulting.
It is insulting.
Yeah. So that being said,
hate it.
Visually, I love it.
Yeah, no, it's good visually. That's it.
Yeah. So let's rank.
Ooh.
Let's rank, I guess.
Plot.
Let's start with production because we'll be nice.
Yeah. Production, I give it a 4.
I'll give it a 4.5 because I really like the camera angles I think it's so interesting, the camera angles they use, and just like the oneers and the rotations, and the effects are so great. Music could have been a little better, could have been a little more like iconic theminess to it.
Yeah, there could have actually been music. I don't recall ever hearing it.
It's very in the background. It's very like generic. It's almost video game music where you don't process it.
Well,
but it's just there.
And there's definitely some moments where there could have been music, and I'm just sitting there like, this is a level in a video game that you have to like, you end up playing several times because you don't hit it just quite right.
That's actually a great comparison.
It's literally like, I mean,
yeah, like all right, the lava river level, the ash mountain level.
Yep.
I see it.
The river, the boat, the acid
boat level. Yeah.
Like,
wow. Yeah. This would make a great video game.
Yeah. So lack of music for me, and then lack of just togetherness. It's not production's fault.
No.
But production, we overbalanced.
It's two hands writing the thing. It's like production is one really strong hand, and then the plot hand is not on the same page, kind of deal.
Yeah.
So let's transition then into plot.
I want to say 1.
Really?
It's
wow.
really bad. It's really bad. Maybe a 2. I'll be nice and I'll give it a 2, and we'll land there.
Okay.
Specifically, just because it goes through a plot and it makes it to the end.
That's how I feel.
But
about
I don't
it.
want to give it a participation. You know what I mean? Like it's a participation point.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of where I'm landing with kind of like 2.53 maybe, is because it is like technically you have a plot, technically you have like a beginning, middle, end, a setup. All the setups are delivered on.
Yeah,
technically,
you do. I'll give it the 1 extra point for the tying everything into a bow. So that's where we get to 2. But you dock back, or you get to maybe 3 there, but dock back it again to 2 because you have Linda Hamilton, who is a really great, strong character or actress, and can play very strong characters. You just refuse to write it for her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no one, even Pierce's character doesn't really have an arc in the sense that he like learns to like forgive himself for what happened.
And Pierce lands as well as it does only because Pierce's character lands as well as it does purely because it's Pierce.
Purely because he is just oozes charisma and charm.
That's performance carrying this. That is not writing.
That's very true. Yeah. I'm still sitting at 3 because
2.
I think it's again, it's a plot. It technically like it checks every like box, but that's all it does not. It meets expectations. It doesn't exceed anywhere.
But this is not a movie that I would watch I wouldn't even watch this for the production. I would watch this because if, I'm hungover and I need a funny movie to laugh at.
A bad movie, but kind of just like a mid movie. Yeah. Yeah. Performance.
Ouch. Just go 4s all around for everybody. Pierce does a lot with what he's not given.
Yeah.
And Pierce in general just does a lot. Dock that back though, because he is not one of, and I talk about this, I don't think I've talked about it very much here, but I talk about this offline a lot about how I really love characters like Christian Bale and others like that who
just like dive completely into new
Heath
personalities
Ledger,
and stuff. Yeah.
Pierce
is one of those who kind of plays himself.
He's just constantly himself.
Yeah.
Which
he's a great self.
He's great. This is not a ding at him. I think it more has to do with the script, but it still comes out of performance because he had to be himself
when the
to
script
carry this movie.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's still a 4 though. Linda Hamilton, obviously big fan of her. Even more so as we've talked about it. And she does it well with what she's given. Maybe there's a case to be made. She could have improved more, but maybe that's not what she was allowed to do at the time with the director she had. I don't know.
Yeah.
The kids save it quite a bit for me.
Interesting.
Lauren specifically, not really Graham. Graham is just there. But Lauren definitely saves it.
Yeah, just endearing little girl.
She's just very cute. She plays that well.
Grandma too. I think she has a good
grandma's redemption arc plays it well
good
too.
Bite to her, but good vulnerability at the end. Yeah, I'm kind of sitting at 4 too. It's like technically everybody is doing what was asked of them.
Yeah,
and they're certainly fighting against this script. Pierce kind of as himself. Linda Hamilton kind of in spite of the character that she's been given here. But yeah, I kind of said it 4-2, where it's like no one's doing a bad job.
No.
But they are doing a good job with even the crew. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
crew
Like,
and
even though
the
they're not
crew as well.
particularly charming, it's like you see what they're going for, and like I appreciate the effort.
Yeah.
So
But coming off of Twister and just immediately,
yeah,
just sort of comparing.
it's hard not to compare because like premise-wise, it's very similar. It's like you have a crew of colorful people and like a female and male lead with kind of a romance arc going in to like solve a crisis.
Yep.
Like it's
And they're the only two believing that the crisis is, happening or whatever.
It's the recipe for what a disaster movie kind of typically is, and this is kind of like I said at the top, just like an archetypical disaster movie.
The us against the world mentality is definitely there, and it comes across well for Twister. It doesn't execute well for this one.
No, yeah, the execution again, visually stunning.
They got there, but they didn't
effects
execute
wise stunning, but in performance wise, like good for what it is. But just the plot is so hung up on being just so half baked, so half baked to the point of it just not being. Again, it is what I think of when I think of disaster movies, and why I'm not like the biggest fan of them. So glad we covered it at least to kind of get at what I'm getting at with the idea of this series.
So in short, Dante's Peak crumbled for us. It was not an explosion, it was a crumble.
This is too bad about that town no one gave a shit about.
Walls came crumbling down. We didn't love it because they didn't give us a reason to love it.
Yep, but you know what? Bastile's still good.
Yeah.
You haven't heard from him in a minute, but but they're good music.
So, we did another shoot for this one.
Yep, yeah, we got some more publicity stills, I guess, to promote this one.
If you saw the Twister ones, we had fun making them.
Yep. You can find them at our Instagram, which is at, what is it?
At Podcast of Critics.
Yep. We're on Twitter at just Cast of Critics, and we're on TikTok at Podcast of Critics 1. So find us there, follow us for videos and updates on our series and everything.
Thank you for being with us on this journey that we didn't like.
Yep. Thanks for coming up the mountain and coming back down. And next time...
We'll be coming around when we come.
Next time, we'll be going up higher than we've ever been.
Yeah. Yeah. I've been Ashley.
I've been Garrett.
And we have been the podcast
of Critics.
Thank you for listening. Good night.
So long.